What's going on, Pokemon trainers? Welcome to episode 18 of the Lured Up Creator Series, podcast bringing your favorite content creators to talk about their work, process, and the game that brings it all together, Pokemon GO. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network, and today is Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. I'm your host, Ken Pescatore, and as we already know, I'm joined, and I'm very excited to be joined, by JigglyDad. What's up, man? How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing well. This was, I'll say it's a rough month. It was a rough month. Somebody was making the joke that wake me up when September ends. Never have I felt those words so much till now. But September was a rough month. We didn't have Sylph. We didn't get to do a lot of things that one would normally be doing in September, sending the kids back to school properly, all that. So, yeah. But I'm doing well. Yourself?
It's the same way, man. It's things have just been so crazy over, 2020.
Right.
But specifically, just
all of it.
It's hard to kind of quantify all the madness that we've been going through, but it's luckily we have creative outlets and, fun stuff to do and keep us busy and occupied and all that good stuff. And we get to do fun stuff like this. So it's, it's all good. It's all good. But, we just gotta trudge, just trudging along. Just, hopefully, come on, 2021, let's go.
That's that $1 million question. When does the trudge end? I think if any of us knew that, we'd feel a lot better about it.
No, it's all good, man. But, it's what I like to do on this show is kind of get through a couple of the basics, get to know you a little bit. And, this will be interesting for your audience since we're already on your channel. So that's pretty cool. We have this, we're breaking the time-space continuum here. There's some weird shit going on. But for my audience, if they, in case they don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know where you're from. Tell us a little bit about your brand, and we'll kind of start digging in.
All right, I am Nathan, or JigglyDad. I pretty much go by JigglyDad on stream, but you're free to call me whatever. I am from Northwest Indiana, very, very near Chicago. So when Go Fest is around here, definitely a very convenient spot for me to be. And I spent 1 year out in Pennsylvania, and I recently moved back here to Northwest Indiana. So that's where I'm from. The whole JigglyDad brand thing, what I do is basically I stream variety Pokemon Go content. I describe it as building community through Pogo PvP specifically. And, I'm not so much your hardcore battler. Maybe at one point in time I was. I peaked out toward the beginning. I was number 42 in the world when Sylph released those rankings, and I quickly found it was more stressful than it was worth to really try and put in that effort. So I try and just have as much fun with it as I can, and treat it as a community thing. So I try and mix up my programming. It's not going to be what you're going to see from most people in the Twitch space on the Pokemon Go side. I mean, we're seeing 95% people doing their GBL sets and putting a spin on it. And that's not what you're going to find here.
It's interesting that you say Pokemon Go variety streamer because, I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of Pokemon creators, not just in the Go space, but, overall, whether it's the VG or the TCG or even, just social media creators. And there's a lot of creators out there that are these variety Pokemon creators. So they might make some Go content. They might stream, Sword and Shield. They might jump over to the TCG, do some unboxing, something like that. But it's fascinating to me that Pokemon Go has become this robust thing enough to where someone could be a variety streamer just within the Pokemon Go umbrella. It's super exciting because there's just so much shit to do, and there's so many different elements to the game and ways to engage with the game that it provides this medium that you could do so much with. So I love it. I love it. I can't wait to dig into that. But let's go back to the beginning. What's your relationship with the Pokemon franchise? When did you first hear about it? Was Go your introduction, or do you have some kind of, lasting relationship with the brand?
Well, a little bit of both. The funny thing when I answer that question, normally my first response is just that I got into this through the TCG, and by having that account, it was just one of those natural things where you saw the game, it got a little bit of hype going, and so you just kind of checked it out on day one. But when I really thought about it, I went back to when I was still in school, and back in the olden days. And I remember when Pokemon came out, and I was, the internet was fairly young at the time, and I was looking at some website, and somebody was telling me about this Pokemon thing, and all I was doing literally was going through the pictures and the names, and I was just laughing. Like, I couldn't believe that this was a thing. I was like, what is this? Like Magmar? Like, who comes up with these names? What is this? And I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I probably spent the better part of 4 hours doing nothing but rolling on the floor laughing at the Pokemon and thinking this was absurd. And my sisters, I have a couple of half sisters that are younger than I am, and they were still in like grade school. And so they were actually like engaging and like doing the trading card thing while I was away at school, and I didn't know that, but it was like all the rage with them. And so they really thought it was a thing. And they told me about Jigglypuff and how Jigglypuff was just so great, and how there was the episode where Jigglypuff sings, they all go to sleep, and you draw on the marker on all of them. I'm just like, what is this thing? But then like the more I looked at it, like the more I'm just like, you know what, I can really identify with this Jigglypuff guy. And I really was into it. And so yeah, then my son, fast forward, he started asking for all the Pokemon stuff, the Pokemon cards for Christmas from his grandparents or from us every time we went to Target and that sort of thing. And it was the exact same relationship with the game that my sisters had, which was basically just all they do is see the cards, look at the big numbers on the card, look at the shiny cards. These are great. And I'm like, what are these code cards? And I'm just like, let me check this out. You have to create an account in the game if you're a parent, if you're doing it on the up and up and your kid makes an account. So I made the account, and I'm like, what do I name my account? JigglyDad, of course. It makes perfect sense. At the time, in all honesty, it would have equally applied a little bit to my weight as opposed to just my love of Jigglypuff, but it was kind of a combination thing, and I was just like, okay, JigglyDad. Couldn't believe I actually could get that without the one, what have you, and signed up, started playing the game, and it was like a religious thing for me. Like, I was playing the game all the time. I wasn't the guy who had a bunch of in real life decks and went to the stores all the time, because that just wasn't like the scene that I was in. But like, I grinded that game day in, day out, years and years and years, until like Pogo took over, and I was like, you know what, it's a little bit better to get out of the house and really get my game on, if you will. And I really kind of fell in love with the game.
That's awesome, because there's not many people that transition from TCG to Go. Typically, the main series games are that kind of bridge. So they might have got the cards when they were younger, and then they fell away from that and get into Sword and play up through Sword and Shield, and then or Sun and Moon even, and then flow into Go. So that's awesome hearing your background in TCGO. I mean, I'm a huge TCG person, and just tonight, like an hour ago, I was hanging with my son, who's 12, and he's like, you know what? I think I want to play some TCGO, and he never plays TCGO. He's got plenty of cards, but he never plays TCGO. He would, I probably because I would, bribe him to give me the code cards from all his packs. But I've got like a shitload of stuff saved into my account, so I'm like, all right, I have a Charizard deck. Charizard's his favorite Pokemon. I was like, why don't you play, this Charizard Reshiram deck I have? And he fucking won like 3 in a row. I was like, on my account. I'm like, keep playing. No, but it's like, it is cool. Like, when you have kids, to kind of be able to relive that cycle. It's definitely a cool thing. So I dig that, man. That's great. Now, what about Go was it that kind of motivated you to say, I want to get on this side of the camera, or I want to create, or I want to build a community? What was it, something about Go, or was there something else that kind of triggered the motivation to start creating?
I mean, I've always been kind of somebody who, not necessarily in professional life or anything, does anything creative, but I've always kind of considered myself a like an artist at heart, if you will, or just a creative at heart. I really have that kind of a mindset. I'm, very ADD, very like I'm an idea guy, as you can probably tell from just like the variety of stuff that I do. Like really, if I had unlimited days, unlimited, people to collaborate with, I would have like, 17 streams a week and they would all be different. But for what really kicked it off was for me, I've moved a couple times in the last couple of years, and this game has really been like the one constant for me, that like I was very, very detached from my original community in terms of, physically being able to see my friends from all of my life. And so I made new friends through the game, used the game. Like it was really kind of like a way of life, where it's just like, I use Pokemon Go as my GPS. I use Pokemon Go to like figure out where the good parks are. I use Pokemon Go to figure out everything. Like I don't
There's
bother
water
to
over
open
there.
up.
Go there.
Right,
It's like,
exactly.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I would do that, and I would figure out where the good grind spots were that were places where I could, really enjoy it. Like when I moved to Pennsylvania for a year, just the outdoor places that you could go during nice weather, just beautiful, beautiful places, just hooked up with Pokestops. And I mean, the downtown areas are always great when you go to the city, but it's just not the same as like walking around a beautiful lake and just hanging out, playing the game, and really kind of being one with nature. So I've always been kind of a man-child, kid at heart kind of person, where, playing lots of games, despite the fact that I should be kind of past that, but I got to the point where
you're what?
no, I mean, I really do love that about this game, that it lets you kind of be a kid. But like I'm saying that, like, I've always been a gamer, not like a hardcore gamer, like an esports kind of person, but always just obsessed with one game or another. Right. Whether it was TCG or what, usually it was like NHL hockey, couple other games. I was bad at them all. But if I was like, if I am going to spend this much time playing a game, I'm going to like spend it playing a game that can make my life better. And so it's like, to me, this game makes your life better. Like the amount of weight that I've lost, I've literally lost like 60 pounds since I started playing this game. I've made friends all over the country, whether in person or, now through the internet. And so like, to me, this game it's not just a mobile game. It's not just a video game. It's not just Pokemon. Like this is what I wake up in the morning thinking about. This is what I go to sleep thinking about. This is what I have deep shower thoughts about. I mean, honestly, this game is like, it takes over. And, whether you want to, call it an addiction, call it whatever you want. To me, if I have that kind of personality, I'm going to play a game that's going to make my life better, because I can play any game I want and sit on the couch and not get anything out of that. So that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and build relationships. I'm going to try and increase my health, connect with the outdoors. And so through that, played Pokemon Go. And I think that we all remember when the game was going through some rough times, where it was just like the content was coming out slow. The Mystic 7 and all the creators, they're just kind of like, we're burnt out, but it's not so much a burnt out like they're burnt out. They're like, we're burnt out from like doing nothing new because there's nothing coming out. The game is kind of heading nowhere. And then PvP comes out, and I'm just like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is pretty simple. Like, is this what we waited for? But like, I'm just the kind of person who, like, if they throw a feature in a game like this, I'm going to dig into it. I'm going to figure out like everything about it. And so like, I was that guy who like shows up at the first tournaments, like, knowing everything and running my double Skarmory lines and all that. And so it was just like, it was great. And to me, it's bringing the game back to what I want it to be, which is about connecting with people, because we all know that the live tournaments are where it's at. It's not these remote tournaments, But one of the things that was really rough about Pogo for a while to me was I feel like it had gone from a game about exercise to a game about driving around in raids and like people hanging out in cars. And like the further the game gets away from its original core, the less I want anything to do with it. I want to do with the parts that have to do with getting out, doing good things, meeting people, socializing, and that. Like the rest of it, just take it, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a testament to Niantic's core values. I mean, they have those 3 pillars that the game from day one has been built on. Exercise, exploration, and community, and socializing. So they've had to make some significant pivots, over the past year. And yeah, it's definitely drawn away, and obviously for good reason. We've had so much shit going on in the world. But yes, those elements, I mean, like raid hours, we've been doing raid hours since before the pandemic, but raid hours, when they turned into like, all right, we got a line of 20 cars, it's like, it kind of pulls, it takes away from the human element. So I love that. I love that whole, that whole explanation of how you wanted to use this game. And I'm the same way. I mean, I use this game is my therapy. I wake up in the morning and I'm just like you. I'm thinking about it. I'm in the shower and it's like, yeah, I got those deep shower thoughts too. It's like, dude, I have a dry erase board in my shower, dude. Don't I'm telling you, man, like I don't play. So it's like, it really, honestly, it really is a culture, a way of life, a style of living. And, yeah, it does so good. It does so much good for the individual that's playing and for the community at large. So it's very awesome to hear, that was really what you were looking for. And I think that's, that really balances out what you're doing now, because you are doing that with the community on Twitch. It's like you're bringing all these different types of trainers together, and you have it, in this nice PvP style bow. And it's like, it's fucking awesome because everyone really is coming together, enjoying themselves, having a good time. The vibe is awesome. And the game is the showcase, So it's I definitely dig that. That's freaking awesome. Now, when you're not creating all this content, what type of content are you consuming? Like, because there's so much Pokemon Go content out there. Twitch has, we'll get to it when we talk about your content, but Twitch has seen this boom over the past year, especially with PvP content. What are you consuming when you're not watching? When you're not creating?
So that's a complicated answer, and hopefully I don't get myself in trouble. But the long answer is right now there's too much. Right now there's so much out there. That
How dare you?
I can't consume it all. And so, this sounds like an old man sour grapes kind of thing, but this is like I started very shortly before COVID. I think my first stream was February 9th. And my idea was that I was going to start doing some streams that had some like remote PvP, kind of like everybody watching kind of thing, like get the people enjoying it, since we couldn't get them together as much in person, not even because of COVID, but just because of just because of the weather, just because it's hard to get enough people together for a tournament around where I'm at.
Sure.
And so I was trying to bring a more social element to it. And so there was such a small landscape there. But at the time, what I consumed was Elfindial, Taco, and Thomas, just like the people that were here. I mean, it was like the community of people that had sprung up originally on Twitch. And there was definitely a very community vibe about it. There were some guys like King of Charmanders, people like that who, he was more of a daytime guy, and he's my guy, but he's too high energy for me to watch too much of because I have anxiety issues.
Dude,
and just, like,
my man is on 11 the whole time. Yeah. Shout out to King of Charmanders.
At the beginning, like all of us, including me, tried to support everybody. We were in every stream. And, I still spend like huge amounts of my time on Twitch, but now like I'm trying to make myself a lot more conscious of what I'm watching and supporting, because I feel like our entire culture of a Pogo community has kind of collapsed into Twitch during this pandemic time. And so I think that we have a responsibility to shape the content that we view. I think that if we just do nothing but watch every GBL stream out there and just kind of go through the motions and watch it, like, I don't feel like we're doing ourselves a service as a community by building that kind of an atmosphere, I don't even know what we call it, a milieu, whatever. No. Because I think that all we've got now is we've got this huge explosion that we've been looking for. And we've gone from people who would top out at like 150, 200 viewers to like, we can get some crazy, several thousand people watching a Sylph Arena thing, or, King pulling in 900s on the regular. But we're losing so much of any focus on what we've had before, which was show 6. It was Sylph stuff. It was strategy. It was thinking about it. And now it's just like everybody just kind of like going in congratulatory circles of like who's reaching rank 10 and whatever. And like, I'm just not into it. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't build community. It just kind of makes everybody feel like they've got to reach this rank 10 goal, which I think is kind of silly.
So I love that. And I appreciate you being open about that, because I feel very similar, because what ends up happening is, like you were saying, it leaves the funnel, it leaves the top of the funnel open very wide. So what ends up happening is, like you said, you can go from stream to stream to stream, and you're watching the same thing, and it's much harder to build a community around a specific style or a sentiment through the content if everybody's doing the same thing. And you would see less and less personality and more of the operational side and the administrative side of PvP specifically. And that, from an entertainment perspective, I totally feel that. That's a very interesting perspective. And I think that's what really allows your content, and I want to start talking about your content, of having a place, because one, it creates, your personality itself. It fits all these different areas that you're creating content. And I want to start talking about the different things that you do. So let's talk about good old PvP content, whether that's GBL or Sylph, and we can talk about those differences. You've got Between Two Bellsprouts, which I've been on, which was a fucking blast. You've got Shoutcast School. You've got Twitch Sings, which is fucking insane on your channel. And I know everyone loves that. Tell us about the different styles and pieces of content that kind of make up the roster of your brand, because I think you're doing exactly what you're saying you're trying to avoid on the mass scale when it comes to the state of Twitch right now, because you're giving these defined and acute different styles of content. So walk us through what you're actually creating here, because I think that's what makes this so interesting and intriguing. Tell me about your PvP content. So if it's not about the race to rank 10 and, you said you want to have fun, what is your PvP content like? What can people expect if they were to check out your PvP content, watching you do battles? What would be different about your channel?
So when I first started out, what I really wanted to do was, there were so few people out here actually teaching people what to do, that what I really wanted to do was help the new crowd. Because when GBL came around, it was really one of those things where so many new people were flooding in that had never touched it before. All they were doing was they fire up Twitch and they're like, oh, there's somebody over here playing. Maybe they know how to tell me what to do. And, it would be just the simple stuff. Like, they would say, I've got these things made. What do you think I should run? What moveset should I run on this? What should I do in this circumstance? Do my IVs matter? all the questions that I think that mostly for as a community we've moved past. I think most people have kind of gotten to the point where they're comfortable with that, at least on a basic level. But I would, I think I was probably the first place a lot of people saw PV Poke on screen. I would bring it up and just start going through it. And if you hadn't been used to watching like Hero Vange videos or something like that, you probably didn't know what it was. And so I was just trying to expose people to that. I was telling people about OpenStreetMaps. I was telling people about all these little nitty gritty things. But when it comes to PvP, I was just really laid back about it. I would let my chat pick things for me to run one of my emotes, which doesn't get as much use anymore because of the seriousness that the word riot took on at some point. But I have my Magmortar riot emote because my chat once convinced me to run Magmortar in PvP in Ultra League because they just wanted it. They saw it sitting there at 2,500 and they're like, Magmortar or Riot. And I'm like, okay, we're running Magmortar and we're having fun running Magmortar, even though it's like, couldn't be a worse Pokemon, but we're trying to find ways to win with it. And for the longest time, I was the grindy guy. Like I got the idea that I wanted to stream because I wanted to do local stuff, get people on and interacting, but I didn't get a lot of traction there from my locals. So I was just coming on every night I was on. I had my community. They would come in, they would chat, they would, just check in. And it was just a real low key vibe. I've generally steered away from the copyrighted music train. I was fairly early on. I didn't have any, and I really didn't have it for the longest time. And then for a while, I was using it as intros only, and then Twitch kind of locked in on that. But I would just try and keep like the lowest key vibe possible. I mean, to me, one of the other things I look for on a PvP stream that I'm watching is not just that they're doing Sylph, even if they're doing GBLs, that's cool. But like, I can't do like the ADD graphics and I can't do the like loud music, especially late at night. I'm already an insomniac and like, I don't need that. Like if I'm trying to like chill, like I told people, so many people told me, I fall asleep to your voice. You got this NPR voice, you smooth jazz. You feel like you should be introducing Kenny G on the radio. So that's kind of what it was. It was fun. It was lighthearted. I would be talking, but I didn't ever take myself seriously. And the one thing that I don't enjoy as well is watching people rage. I know people do it. Some of them, it's part of their personality. Like if I wanted to see somebody rage, like I could go in the other room and I could watch my son play Fortnite and I'm not feeling it. So, I want to bring people that low key have fun with the game vibe. And,
nice.
But I would say that more often than not, my content is not that anymore. It's not just me playing PvP. Like tonight, after this interview, at some point later, I will get on with Victor Vandeslag and we do something more recently. It's still developing. We call it the Boomer Stream. We don't have a title for it yet, where we're just kind of two old dudes muddling our way through PvP and just kind of, just acting the boomer part, basically. Like let people make fun of us for being boomers, whatever. We're not gonna do it your way.
I love that. And I think that, we could talk about the community in a minute, but it seems that your approach to PvP is exceptionally grassroots. And I think when you take that approach and it's community based, especially in a live stream format, that the community then drives the ship. And I think when you do that, it provides an experience for the viewer that's going to be a lot different from watching produced content or listening to a podcast, because they're able to get that I'm just hanging out in the same room as the creator vibe. And when that happens, it can be very successful because the community feels like they're part of the show. So I definitely dig that. And the low key vibes, that's fucking awesome too, because it's like, dude, I love Mystic 7. I watch his stream sometimes. Yo, my head is like, it's like ready to explode. There's like fucking, subscriber and then follows. Right, and he's like, yo, what's up? It's like, oh my God, dude. It's like, fuck. Exactly. I can't. It's like, it's hilarious, but I just can't keep up with it. So tell me about Between Two Bellsprouts, because this is something that I really gravitated to because it had a very podcast vibe. And, you know, I love the people that you work with on that show. So tell us about that, Between Two Bellsprouts.
So originally what started out was that I found somebody to collaborate with. At the time, it was 2-0 Butters, who is now kind of the shoutcaster de facto on many of the things that you will see in the Pogo world out there in Cali, and great guy, late night streamer. And he just has a really fun vibe, and like I got along with him, and I just said, you know what would be great is to do something that is community oriented, where we talk about the things that are going on, where, you know, we are going to delve into the news and kind of do the thing where we read off the news like a lot of people do, including yourself. But, you know, we really want to focus on PvP and what matters. If it's not PvP related, we kind of gloss over it a little bit. And 2, like the issues that are, I love to talk about the stuff nobody else wants to talk about. Like, I like to talk about, the coaching stuff. I like to talk about the, just problems with Niantic. I like to talk about just anything you can think about where it's like, is this okay? The way that the community is behaving, the way that Niantic is behaving, the way that our PvP community is developing. How issues of sportsmanship in online tournaments, like just treating each other as human beings, just all the kind of issues that are just kind of like, they're all out there. And to me, they're 100 times more important than which shiny got released this week, but they're not the issues anybody wants to talk about because 1, they piss people off, and 2, people would rather really escape with a lot of this stuff. And I get that. Like I want to do the same thing a lot of the time, but like I said, we are building a community here, and with the rate that it's growing at, if you don't control your own narrative, if you will, then that narrative is going to be written for you. And right now I feel like our narrative is being written by just Twitch culture, generic gaming culture. And that's not what I feel. That's not what I feel that Pokemon Go culture or PvP culture or Sylph culture is about. And I want to make sure that still has a voice.
Wonderful, man. I love that. And yeah, I know all about pissing people off. It's like, well, all right, I won't say everyone, but I'll say I'm really good at pissing off like 10 to 15 people on Twitter consistently every week. So no, but those conversations are great to have. And like you, I seek out creating those bits of dialogue because I think the way you worded it, you know, that the dialogue or the, you know, it will be written for you unless you take a hold of that. I love that because that's absolutely true, especially in this space, because there are some exceptionally loud and sometimes very influential voices that will speak for you, and you can't have that if you're trying to build a brand and drive a community forward, because a lot of times that stuff will just make you backpedal, and it's like before you know it, it's like, wait, no, where are you going? It's like you gotta really grow on that. And right. What you said, like things that other people aren't talking about on the PvP side, like coaching and whatever. Tell me about Shoutcast School, because I think this is something that I know that some people in our community are super attached to this in your content, because this is something that's probably the most unique thing, I believe, that you're doing. Like, what is the Shoutcast School all about, and how does that work?
Basically, the idea is that I am lucky enough that whether I ask somebody to be interviewed or whether I ask somebody to collaborate with me, I have had so much luck in this community that people are just like, sure, I'll do this. And so, you know, what I tend to do is I tend to just kind of start at the top, and I say, like, if I were going to do a show that was going to focus on shoutcasting, you know, announcing a PvP battle, then who would I want? And I was just like, I would want AJ and I would want Butters, because AJ is like he's kind of the Go Stadium mascot. He gets a lot of grief for it, but like he's the guy who's always there. He's always taking the grief, hardest working guy in shoutcasting, and just really he knows what he's doing, competent guy. And Butters is like the hype man, and just he's also unbelievably good at the game, unbelievable insights into what he's going to see. And so I asked these two if they're willing to do the show, and I pitch it to them, and I'm just like, the idea is basically, originally I kind of imagined it like an American Idol kind of thing, where it's just like you've got your judges panel, you've got the two regular judges and one guest, and just other people who are just amateurs trying to do it to see how they hack it. And one of the challenges with this is coordinating a lot of people on a fixed time frame is very difficult. And so it didn't really pan out to be so much of a contest, at least not season 1. It really panned out to be more just teaching and instructive. And I think on a lot of levels, that's really what we need, because there's a lot of people that talk about this game as an esport. I know that that's something you want to talk about later, and whatever that means as an esport, like I think that the number one thing that you have to do is you have to make it watchable. You have to make it watchable, not just for a hardcore audience, but for somebody who's maybe only picked it up recently. And so you have to do something to build the skills of the people in your community to be able to present that, whether it is a weekly tournament that's going on in an area, or whether it is worlds or regionals, and you want to make that as big of an experience as possible. And so, nobody was doing it, and I'm just like, if they'll do this with me, then I know I can make this work. And they were willing to do it. Unfortunately, the one season is all I got out of the two of them. AJ's got a new baby, and Butters has stepped away from it from a bit. So it's a little bit up in the air what we're doing in the future. But basically, I'm just trying to train the shoutcasters of tomorrow. And I really would love nothing more than to take another step with that and say, take people who are shoutcasters from other esports and kind of get them to say, well, this is all fine and dandy, the stuff that you guys have taught them, but do you see the difference between this and the big leagues? Let's take it up a notch again. And then the other aspect of that is it's a really networking kind of thing, because what ends up happening is that this streamer or that streamer says, who do you feel good about sending me to shoutcast, this event? And I'm just like, this person is in such and such time zone, and they were great on the show, and I feel like they'd have a great energy with the person you've got. And so, I just send them somebody, and then that person gets more experience. It's just, giving them experience. And then, in the middle of it, I do my battles, but, I'm an extremely mediocre battler if I'm being generous.
Dude, I love, don't get me wrong, I love PvP. I'm engaged in PvP constantly. Am I a good battler? Absolutely fucking not. Do I spend Stardust? Hell no. Do I TM? Hell no. But do I have a blast? Absolutely. Like, I've done plenty of like serious streams, like, whether it's through Go Stadium or whatever, and I just don't want to lose everyone. If I win one match, it's like, that's a fucking win for me. Like, I don't care, because I just want to have fun. But I've beaten this drum so hard when it comes to the esports thing, of the importance of the coverage and the shoutcasting. And I liken it to the TCG. TCG streams inherently are not exciting. You're looking at someone turning pieces of cardboard over. It's not very exciting. But when you have someone that's covering the game that can add the commentary and walk the viewer through that process, be able to telegraph what's coming in, to explain it, and have that divergence of different paths that the game can actually take and prepare that's where the importance is. And I think that with Go, it's the same exact way. There needs to be an explanation, because from the outside, physically looking at someone playing, it's just a bunch of tapping. Watching the screen itself, actually watching what's going on, no one knows the complexity because it looks so basic. So when you have someone that's skilled enough to be able to speak like an AJ, and I'd be remiss if I didn't call AJ a butt since we're talking about him. But when you have someone that can walk you through that in real time, that's what makes it appealing. And for me, the importance of, is Pokemon Go ready for esports? It really comes down to the coverage and the shoutcasting, because the game is one thing, but if it's not exciting to watch as a spectator, it's like, I love watching League of Legends streams. I have no fucking idea what the hell's going on, but the shoutcasters go fucking ballistic. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I should be screaming right now. So it's like, I love that. And I feel that's very important. So you're doing, Lord Arceus's work with the shoutcast school. And I know, in our community, DeFi, friend of the show, she's been, I had her on the creator series. She's fucking awesome. She was on the shoutcast school. She fucking loved it. She raved about it. And she was like, I had so much fun. So coming away from an educational experience that's building the community, but at the same time, still having a fun vibe, man, that's checking off all the boxes for me. And that leads me now to probably the most fun element, which is Twitch Sings. And I initially didn't realize that this was a Twitch thing, because then I would see Jiggly or whatever the hell you call it. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I go on and you're singing. I go, what am I watching right now? I can't turn away. So tell us about Twitch Sings, how that all started, and what the brand of Twitch Sings is, and how that's kind of come and gone, and what you've done with the whole singing element of it, because I think this is freaking hilarious.
So it's kind of a weird thing. It's I've taken myself from one community that complains a lot about the company that makes the game to another one where where Twitch is shutting it down. So as of January 1st, we won't have it anymore. But the way it all started was Jiggly being in a very interesting mood, shall we say. And I was streaming, just doing a very generic PvP stream. And counter to my normal practices, I just turned on the Spotify and was singing along. And I kind of did it in a way that I didn't really think people were hearing a whole lot. I was just kind of like, it's what I do. It's been a characteristic of mine ever since I was like a little kid, that I would know every single song on the radio, and it was just kind of hardwired into me, and I would sing along. And so that's what I was doing. And people were just they were going crazy in the chat. They were saying, oh, the voice of an angel, blah, blah, blah. I like this Jiggly singing thing. Why doesn't he do it all the time? And I'm just like, quit trolling, guys, whatever. That's nice. But I know you're either being nice or you're trolling. And, after the stream, a few people that I actually trusted were just kind of we were serious. It's not that bad. It's pretty good. It's whatever. And I'm just like, you know what? I never in a million years thought that I was the guy who was going to be out here streaming on the internet and calling myself JigglyDad. But you know what? I fucking love to sing. So I don't give a shit who sees it at this point, and I'm just going to do it. And if people watch, then they watch. If they don't watch, they don't. And what really has been the biggest blessing of all that is just that the people that I have met through the Twitch Sings community have really been great to me. I've got one guy, El Canadiano, who's actually a crossover between Pogo and Twitch Sings that I didn't know until the Twitch Sings side, and I've kind of brought him back over to PvP, and that's been great. And I've had people that have just been they're just new connections that have absolutely no interest in Pogo whatsoever. So, I had no intentions of veering off into Twitch variety land. It wasn't a calculated move by Jiggly to just say, I'm gonna veer left because everybody's doing this. It's no, literally I love to sing, and people were doing it. So I found it, and it's I'm just gonna do it.
Dude, it's great. And I'm in a studio right now, so it's I could be as loud as I want, but normally at night, I got dogs sleeping, kids sleeping. It's fuck, man, I want to come on here and belt it out. It's I've been singing my whole life, man. So it's I absolutely gotta figure out a way to get something going with you, even if we do some produced duets or something like that. I think we should do something, because I fucking love it. But that's amazing. I mean, that content mix is awesome because it's future proof, and I think that's exceptionally important when it comes to the state of the game. It's amazing that Pokemon Go proper has been so strong over the past 4 years, but it's not typical that a game will have this kind of legs to stretch out over 4 years, not necessarily even figure out that they're at the halfway point of its life cycle. So we have some time. However, that diversification is like an insurance policy for a creator, because then it allows them to make the most of the situation. Even when the game begins to sunset, you can kind of fall back on having this diversification to create and bring that community element in. So I love that, and I think that's really smart on your part, whether that was calculated or not. I think that's a strong thing, and I know a lot of people that have been creating content for a long time, and they're like, yeah, I've been doing this for 7 years and I'm successful, but holy shit, I really wish I have some diversification in my portfolio. And it's like, it's hearing all these different things, it's awesome and super inspiring. And I think that it really sets a good example if someone's interested in becoming a creator, especially on Twitch, that how important it possibly is to be diversified in this stuff. So I think you're crushing it there, man. That's awesome. But let's talk PvP, because there's so much going on in the PvP world that, I mean, it's by far, PvP is the least stable part of the game. For the most part, gyms, raids, whatever, buddy, AR, all that shit runs pretty freaking well. But when it comes to PvP, there's a lot of issues, and
right.
It's issues that aren't easily looked past because they make you fucking lose your mind, like, regularly. So as a creator that works in the PvP space, how does the current state of the game, and I heard that, like, GBL was fucking bad today, so it's happening up to the moment. How does that affect you as a creator when the PvP itself is so challenging from a mechanical point of view?
I believe that my approach helps me deal with it a lot better than other people. And I say that for a lot of reasons, and I really am trying to get this message out there, which is that the current environment that we are in, with people just streaming GBLs and feeling compelled to do all their sets every day, and feeling like these ranks are so important, and the elo system being very unpredictable, and the game being extremely laggy, and just the nature of all the mechanics of this game, it's not good for people. It's really not. And there's nothing I like less than to tune in to somebody else's stream, especially somebody that, like, I have a deep relationship with, and to see them suffering because they're forcing themselves to keep playing this game. And so that's, like, it goes back to why I don't like to see people rage. It's not because, part of it is just the visceral part of it where, like, I don't like the sound of it. But part of it is, like, there's somebody on the other side there, and unless they're putting on an act, like, they're literally, like, you can feel the adrenaline going through their veins, and it's not a good thing. And when I see people who are setting themselves up to just basically stream their GBLs, and that is their gig, and then that's not good for them, but it's like this cycle where, like, well, I've got to do my GBLs to create content. It's easy, but it's an easy way to get you freaking stressed out. It's an easy way to get you feeling down about yourself, like you're no good. It's an easy way for you to go from feeling great about this game to saying, I'm quitting, I'm retiring, I'm stepping away. Whereas what I do is, when I do my Shoutcast schools, I'm running a tournament. It's a ranked tournament. People can see my moves. People can see what I'm doing. It's not on delay. I'm putting myself at a disadvantage. Like, I've given up on my rank. It is what it is. I'm having fun with it. And I just don't care about my GBL rank. Bottom line, I don't care at all.
Yep.
And if if I never ever got a Pikachu Libre, would I be disappointed? Sure. Will I get one eventually? Yes. Probably next month when I think they're going to be giving them away like candy.
That's what I was going to say. When it comes down to rank 7, I'll get one.
Right. And it's like, it's whatever. And so to me, like, I feel like both for myself, like I felt like the need that I don't want to do my GBLs on stream, because even if I were doing it even if I liked the content, then like the idea of doing it on display for somebody else is just like another level of something where it's like, if you're doing scrim battles, if you're doing auto recs, if you're doing theory crafting, things that haven't been like fully fleshed out, but you're just like having fun with it, like there's not as much judgment involved there. You're trying to achieve a goal, you're having fun, and it is what it is. But like, I see people from the most serious and best battlers to like the absolute, like, I'm not even sure why these people are streaming, raging about this game. And it's just like, I'm telling you, get over yourself, not get over yourself because you're not all that, but get over yourself because it's not good for you. And like, just step away.
No, I've said that before, where it's, a lot of the people in the PvP content creation space, they're gluttons for punishment. And It's like, you walk up to someone and say, hey, do me a favor, kick me in the nuts. It's like, oh, that fucking hurt. Hold on. Kick me in the nuts again. Kick me in the nuts again. Oh, it still hurts. One more time. It's going to be different this time. And it's like, I see that cycle. It's just like you're saying. And that's what drives people to the brink of insanity, is because they're so focused. And it's like, how can I be the best that ever was if I can't fucking even get through a match without it breaking? And it's like, so I get it. But the perspective of, we need to understand what this game can do to us from that point of view. And a lot of the times it's not healthy, because everyone's so angry and everyone's so wound up that, I've talked to people that are like, all right, I'm going to get my 20 sets, 20 matches in right now. And then it's like the night ends and they're so like wound so tight, like they can't decompress. They can't, like, don't talk to me. No one can talk to me right now. It's like, and it's like you try to go to sleep. It's like, I can't fucking sleep. I'm thinking about lag. It's like, it's not a good thing. And it's like, I totally get that. And believe me, I was doing that competitive thing with Go Stadium on their stream, and it's like, I'm getting my ass kicked and I'm laughing and I'm like, I don't care. Right. And I'm getting hit with charms. It's like, you know what? I'm going to bring my charmer in, so there can be hearts flying all over the screen. That's great. Like, it's that element of fun. Like, when my son plays PvP and picks 3 dragons because that's what he likes, and he's fucking smashing his phone and having a blast, I'm like, oh, look how fun PvP is when you don't really care. It's like, so yeah, I get that 100%. Now, GBL is definitely its own thing, and I think that there is a hard divide in the content between GBL content and Sylph content. Now, as far as the people taking part, obviously the majority of people are doing GBL. However, most that do Sylph are also doing GBL. Doesn't necessarily go the other way around. So how do those two areas of PvP fit into your mix? Because I think that the approach is very different, and is the audience the same? Like, do you feel that you have to tailor your content to different audiences when you're covering each of those realms of PvP, or is it pretty consistent?
I probably used to do more tailoring back toward the beginning when I was doing more GBL. I don't do as much of it these days, and it's probably to my detriment, but it really comes back down to a lot of the things that I've been saying, which is just that to me, it's about the community. Like, I would love to see most of the top level battlers doing more Sylph content, even if it was just kind of mixed in, because I want to see as many people get exposed to it as possible, just so that they can see if it's for them or not. Like, it's not for everybody, and it's never going to be a mass audience thing, but I think it really goes back to a lot of the stuff that I was talking about, which is that we have kind of given ourselves this very unhealthy looking Venn diagram of a situation where we've got the Pogo community and the Twitch community, and they're basically the same circle. And so if we just allow ourselves to just do like raid circles through GBL sets, and we don't even talk about Sylph, and we don't even talk about like the fun side of it, the auto rec side, like those are the things I gravitate to it. If I see somebody doing auto rec, Sylph, Grunt Cup, like all the different pick six kind of stuff, like I will gravitate to that every single time. And can there be stress involved in that? Sure, when you take it seriously enough. But like, I just don't think there's an end game here on GBL. Like GBL to me is something built into the game. And ultimately, I mean, we can get into that stuff later, but like, it's not a question of is Niantic a good company or a bad company. It's a question of if the game itself is built by monetary considerations rather than competitive and like strategic considerations, it's not going to be the game I want. It's not going to be the game that the original Sylph community wants, but it's the game that we're setting ourselves up to get. And I don't want to see, like, if we see GBL esport, showcase, like, will it grow the game? Sure. Do I care? No, I really don't. Like, they can have that. They can take it. Like, I won't be there. Like, they can have their parade and I will stay home.
Well, that's very interesting. And I love that perspective. And I'm a firm believer that GBL and Sylph will always coexist. They are two sides to the same coin, but the heads is very different from the tails. And we had, I had Sylph Arena on last week on the show, and Mel made a great point. She was like, it's not about this competitive thing between the two. It's each one can be a bridge to the other. And I think that when you have that mentality of this really is about bringing the community together, you can find that common ground, whether it's on the GBL side or on the Sylph side. But from a content perspective, I do think it is very different, the way that the content is laid out, because when you're watching GBL and it is that race to rank, or the concern of ELO, like tonight we hit rank 8, tonight we hit rank 9. And when it doesn't happen, it's like, was the stream a failure because it didn't happen? Right. It shouldn't be. But a lot of times that consideration can come across because you didn't hit the goal. And it's like, that's a shame. That's a shame, because it's about the journey, and right. when you watch the, Alfindial's Butt Cup or something like that, where, we're talking about like Pokemon fucking each other, that's quality content. That's what I want to watch. So it's like that there is such a unique element to the way things can be put together. And I think that's very important. And I think they can be a bridge to each other. But GBL, I mean, the Flying Cup has now been postponed twice. We have
last time.
Yeah, literally like last minute. Like New Zealand was like, I'm ready for Flying Cup. Oh. But the Halloween Cup is supposed to be on the 26th, which goes a step further beyond the Flying Cup. Flying Cup's all right, flying types. But now when you start talking about some more restrictions and GBL bringing in similar limited metas to something like maybe Season 1 Sylph saw, do you think that I don't know. It's really about the choose 6, pick 3 thing. Like that's such a huge difference that unless GBL brings that in, I don't see, I'm always going to see that hard line of differentiation between GBL and Sylph, because they're just handled so differently. So, that's a very interesting thing when it's like, wow, we are going to have a limited meta, but we're still not being in like this competitive thing. When you look at competitive TCG, it's like you have to submit your decks ahead of time. People know what cards are in your deck. When you're playing VGC, you kind of know what you're bringing. So it's definitely an interesting vibe. It's always super interesting to talk to PvP creators, because I remember when Vange was like really struggling with this, and he's just like, do I make Sylph content because that's where my core community is and I'm passionate about it and I love it? Or do I make GBL content for views? And it's like, that is such a shitty thing to have to decide about as a creator. Man, that takes the it just takes the kind of life and humanity out of the content because it just brings you to a different place. So that's a very interesting thing. But we go ahead.
No, and I mean I feel recently, especially like I've been preaching this a lot, and I don't know how clearly the message is being received, and it's not meant for one specific person, but it's that I feel like it is a top-down community issue. I feel like if the people at the top of the PvP food chain, your top-ranked battlers who are largely similar on the Sylph and GBL list, not entirely, if those people start giving lip service and screen time and their time and effort to the Sylph stuff because we're just starting a new season, I feel like it's going to trickle down, and the love for what we've created is going to trickle down, because those people are the people that are the pillars of the community. If you're Elite Four, if you're Caleb Pang, if you're FP Sticks, if you're King, if you're all those people up at the top, if they are populating their streams with Sylph content on a regular basis and it looks more fun than the GBL content, then people are going to come do it. And I think that there's definitely a difference there. It starts to become a difference where like the line between content creator and player is a lot harder to differentiate, because you have to be able to explain your strategies. You have to be willing to explain your strategies in a way that
Right.
you're comfortable with. But like ultimately it's about bringing the love of that to it. And I think as long as, like, to go back to what you're saying about these confined metas, like Sylph is always going to put more time and effort into figuring out what's a balanced confined meta. Will they succeed every time? No. But when Niantic is coming up with a confined meta, they're like, oh, spooky Pokemon, things that, like, they're not looking at PV Poke figuring it all out. Like, I'm convinced they've got somebody out there who's now kind of like retroactively looking at all the different aspects of the game. They're looking at the Great League meta. They're saying, what can we do to shake it up? What can we do this? But they're not looking at the confined meta saying, well, how can we make the best confined meta? They're like, flying things, spooky things.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make for a good meta. I mean, the flying one, if it had gone down or when it goes down, is probably going to be absolutely dumb, especially as a show 3. Like, everybody's going to have Aerodactyls if they can use them, and it's just going to be rock, paper, scissors, literally rock.
Right. No, that yeah, it's especially with it being blind. I think that's really gonna, people can talk shit all they want, and they're like, yeah, I got a spicy ass team. It's like, no, you don't. You got Aerodactyl lead. Come on. It's like you're gonna, it's like it is definitely an interesting thing. Now let's skate over to the esports thing, because this is another fun topic. Let's look past the lag, right? Let's look past, like, let's just live in another world where everything runs fucking great. Like PvP is flawlessly run, no lag. Matchmaking queues are like a millisecond, and it just works, right? So, do you think Pokemon Go PvP has what it takes in its current form, if everything works great, to be a spectator esport? Or do you think that we still need iterations to come, adding things to PvP, whether it's special conditions or held items or status effects, things like that? Do you think that it's at a place now where it's ready, if it worked right, or are we not there yet as far as the mechanics?
No, arguably, I think we're further than we were a year or two ago, even. I think that the moment that they started adding the buff and debuff moves, it seems like it kind of took a hit on the way that the game operated, and they didn't necessarily think through all of the ramifications for it. So I think what they really need to do, the two things they need to do more than anything, are bring back the ability to functionally sack swap on the fly, like with skill, with timing, and to do it like very strategically, not just, well, I figured out that this is the the number of turns early. I have to press the button to get the sack switch to work if I want to do it on this turn. Like, it's got to be lightning fast. Like, it's not even a question of lag. Like, they literally are changing the game mechanics to, you know, they changed it from being able to swap out whenever you wanted, even if the button wasn't appearing, to being able to swap out even after your opponent had thrown a charge move and you
Right.
CMP tied, you were
Right.
able to do it, to not being able to do it, to like they need to iterate exactly what those conditions are supposed to be, how it's supposed to work in like the most simple way. And they need to make it executable like at high speed, and like, because that's what this game brings. Like, this game, even though I would love the idea of status conditions, I would love the idea of, or special condition status effects, I would love the idea of more moves that have like interesting aspects to them. Like, that would be fantastic. But ultimately what PvP, Pokemon Go PvP brings to the scene that VCG does not is the speed at which you're playing and thinking and strategizing and executing. And when that element is removed, then I personally say that, you know, people say we need to find a skill gap. And a lot of times the skill gap was defined as basically who knew how to do the weird trick of the day, whether it was QSA or piggybacking or whatever. But like, until those are pinned down and things that we can do on a regular basis, the only skill gap I even saw was being able to execute sack swaps. Like, the rest of it was just like, you know, you went from newbie to knowing your type effectiveness and which moves you should have, to being able to just like lightning fast be able to execute the swaps when you need to. And if you can't do that, or it's such a small part of the game, then it's really got nothing to offer as an esport. That's my feeling.
That's great. That's great perspective. And honestly, that's a perspective I haven't heard before. And a lot of times it is hard to look past the lag. And I'm looking in the Twitch chat, and it's funny. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good one. You know, lag-free PvP. That's fucking great. But you know, that is an interesting thing with the skill gap. I think that I haven't really thought of that perspective, and it is very important. And I think that's why you see in some of these live coaching scenarios, which is a whole nother conversation we won't get into, but when you have a live coach that's feeding you instructions, the player doesn't necessarily even need to have game experience or skill, because that's how calculated the process and mechanical the process has become, where someone can literally feed you the instructions and you can be competitive. It's not like, you know, someone's learning to drive for the first time and you could just say, okay, accelerate, and they can drive normally. It's like, no, they need to figure out how to drive first. PvP it has lost some of its depth because of some of these changes that have happened. And yeah, I personally think that it doesn't necessarily need the special conditions or held items or anything like that that we're missing from the main series to get us to an esports level. But yeah, those elements and the nuances that will allow for the plays to happen in between the tapping and in between, you know, the what moveset you have or what Pokemon you're bringing to be able to pull shit out of your ass. I think those moments is really what the game needs. And the only way to do that is to have these nuances built into the game, like you were saying, that will allow these things to be executed, openly, and not just by the elite, or not just, by exploiting whatever bug is happening that week. And it's like, all right, hey, you just did a charge CMP. Great. I'm swapping out. It's like,
right.
Yeah, that's not in the rule book. That's not in, Niantic. It may work, but that may not be the intention of the developer. So yeah, I think there's a long way to go. And I think that's probably why, obviously the lag, but I think that's probably why you see there not being such a strong esports push on Pokemon Go PvP yet. Obviously the lag, but there's a lot else with it that prevent it from being ready. And we'll have to see where that goes down the road. But as we kind of wrap up here, dude, I feel like I could talk to you for fucking hours. But as we kind of wrap things up here, 2020 has been fucked. This year has been absolutely crazy. But any plans for the channel, personal plans or goals or anything for the rest of the year before this year wraps up? Anything you have on the hopper?
I mean, I've got some things in the hopper. I'm really, like I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with Shoutcast School. What I want to do moving forward is, regardless of whether Shoutcast School is a thing, I want to continue to hold live tournaments on stream. And if it's not so much with a focus on the Shoutcast angle, I want to focus on maybe just really bringing as many of the elements of live tournaments as we can to those tournaments. And if that means we're all in a Zoom call and we're breaking off and talking and looking at each other face to face and joking and laughing and just trying to enjoy the same people, getting rid of the randos who are just there to up their number of tournaments that they're doing, and keep it fun, keep it social, do everything that we can to make it fun. And one of the ideas, I'll put it out there, if somebody steals it from me, then fuck them. So the idea that I've got, I want to do a pro-am, like in golf, where basically we've got all these people out there who are opening up Patreons, and that they're offering coaching, and there seems to be demand for it. And I think that kind of coaching is fantastic. Like, I wish I could do that. Like, I could never offer people coaching on that level. But what I'd love to do is grab 8 people who either never touched Silv or have only done like 1 or 2, but that are getting into PvP, and have some of these coaches give a pro bono week of coaching to this person, see who comes out on top, and I'll give them a prize to the coach who will give some sort of donation to charity or whatever to the coach that wins the pro-am. And so in that way, we're teaching people to do stuff. We're bringing in new members, and we're trying to do it in a way where they're going to be built up, as opposed to like just stepping in the door and having no idea what they're doing. So that's my big thing that I want to do, if I can get enough buy-in. Like I said, I've been very, very lucky that despite the fact that I talk about shit that nobody wants to talk about, and whatever, when I contact people and I ask them, will you do this? Will you do that? People have been very, very good to me. So if I'm lucky enough to continue to have people be good to me, and I can wrangle up, 8 coaches and 8 folks, that's the next project in the hopper.
I love that, man. That's such a cool concept, because it, again, going back to the top of the show, it hits on all your elements. It's about the competitive thing. It's about having fun. It's about bringing the community together, and it's about doing things in the PvP and Pokemon Go space that are unique. It hits all those buttons. I think that's phenomenal, man. I wish you the best of luck. I would without a doubt, dedicate time to consume that, because that seems like a really fun concept. And I think that there's a lot that we can borrow from other esports or other sports in general, or competitive, however. So I love that pro-am vibe. I just think that's hilarious. That's a great way to do it, and could be really entertaining, especially when you have someone like me who, yeah, I know all the type advantages, I know all the Pokemon, I know the movesets, but it's like, I just want to have fun. I want to hit someone with gunk shot so I can see a trash can on the screen. It's like, I love all that, man. So that's great. And, something we didn't talk about when we ran through your content was how collaboration and, like you were saying, the networking thing fits into this puzzle. Because, I mean, for myself, it's all about networking. I'm in network mode 24/7. And, I know through the different outlets that you have, especially between 2 Bellsprouts, and, you've worked with a lot of different people in this space. Anyone that you haven't worked with yet that you would like to collaborate with in some way?
I mean, the list of people that I would like to work with is probably pretty long. And when I saw that you wanted to ask about that, I was thinking to myself, who do I want to work with most? And it's really a tough question to answer, but I think it goes back to somebody that we mentioned earlier, and it's really an unlikely pairing, which is that I've been wanting to interview Mystic 7 and have like a whole, like, just deep conversation about the whole mental health angle thing with him, because he's such a different dude than me, but I know that that's important to him, and we're both Pogo people. And honestly, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, like that's really what's driving all of this. Like the mental health is driving 100% of this, whether it is the stuff I talked about before in terms of like playing a game that's good for me, not bad for me, helping me meet people, just trying to bring people together and have fun with the game and not stress ourselves out. Like that's what it's all about to me. And I feel like somebody like that who doesn't necessarily have the same sort of investment in the PvP scene, and I don't, that's not really important to me, but like he has the same kind of investment in the Pokemon Go scene, and to be able to talk to him for a couple hours about mental health and things he's learned and things that he thinks that we could do, just kind of put our heads together, because that's what I care about more than anything, is my community, where their heads are at, and being able to keep people feeling good.
That's awesome. And I've spoke with Mystic 7 a bunch of times, on camera, off camera, and you're gonna need a couple hours, because it's like once you get him going, man, it's like I had him on the show and we're talking about like deep ass shit. And it's like, whoa, I gotta reel this shit in. We gotta tell Pokemon, yay! It's like, but no, it really is important. And again, injecting that human element is so important, especially in the PvP scene, because people are just so wound up that you have to remember the humanity of what we're doing here and the people. And, every match that you're playing, every battle, every bit of matchmaking, there's another person on the other side of that. And from a content perspective, especially with the boom of Twitch, people went from having no experience in business, no experience in marketing, no experience on the technical side of things, to all of a sudden having a 5 or 6 day a week stream schedule, and the burden of, I have to do it for the fans, and that whole thing, the toll that could take on someone mentally, it's brutal. It can really be exceptionally tough. And that's why you see so many creators, like not just in the Pokemon space, but at large, just get so burnt out and fried. And they're like, not only am I going to take a break, I'm done. Like, I don't want anything to do with this, because it just cooks them. So, I would love to hear that conversation, because it's, I want to hear shit that you don't hear about. I want to hear about things in our lives that make us who we are. And we can frame it in Pokemon Go, but this is really about the humanity. I love that so much, man. Oh man, I'll send him a note, man. I'll get him on your show. That'd be fucking awesome. I want to hear that shit. But of course, links to everywhere that we could find JigglyDad will be in the description. But anyone you want to shout out, plug, promotion, anything like that, let us know where we can find you, and I'll make sure that our community stops by to say hi. But please let us know where you're at.
Twitch.tv/JigglyDad is my primary outlet. You can also get there through just JigglyDad.com. You can reach me at JigglyDad@gmail.com if you want to reach out. I have my own Discord. I call it Jiggly Streaming Fiasco. If you want to reach that, you can find that link pretty readily on Twitter. Of course, JigglyDad. Let's see. I do have a YouTube. As of right now, like I started editing and posting some of my interviews, and I realized that I'm neither an editor nor do I have the endurance to sit through my own interviews, which typically can last on the order of 4 hours, and find all the things I want to edit out and then post it. So I've been kind of dumping some stuff up there unedited, which is really against kind of my whole vibe and production level, but I've been doing it. So, it would be great if people go to the YouTube, drop that follow, smash that like, all that crap. But ultimately, I've mostly been uploading things like interviews, and I'm religiously posting between 2 Bellsprouts there the next day. So, if somebody wants to know what I am about, I think that Bellsprouts is probably the first place I would look. That, honestly, if you've got something to talk about in the PvP space that you feel nobody's talking about, or you feel like is kind of off the beaten path, or maybe you just think it's a huge issue and you think that we do it really well, then please bring it to me. And honestly, I'll have you on. We try to have on like the newsmakers of the week when we get a chance. They're speediest, the people who are winning tournaments, but we also want to have people on who are going to talk about like their experiences in the community. And really, we'll have every manner of person on, and come on and be part of the community.
That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for hosting this on your Twitch. This is like just the weirdest thing. It's like, yeah, we're on your, it's happening all over the place. But this just for anyone that's watching this on Twitch right now, the audio form of this show will come out next week on the Lured Up feed. But dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your time, and this has been an awesome talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone else, this has been an episode of the Lured Up Podcast Creator Series. Thank you so much for checking it out. Please check out luredup.com for everything that's going on with the show, and PokemonProfessor.com for everything that we have going on over at the network. And once again, one more time, JigglyDad, thank you. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Keep training, trainers. We'll see you next week.